50 Sentimo coin of 1983 belongs to the Flora and Fauna series, which was introduced in 1983 during the administration of President Ferdinand Marcos. This series replaced the Ang Bagong Lipunan, a BL series that had been circulating since the mid-1970s. The goal of this change was not only monetary but also symbolic, reflecting a new national identity, rooted in the appreciation of Philippine biodiversity and heritage. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas (BSP) wanted to emphasize the richness of the Philippines' natural environment, so they placed native plants and animals on the coins. This was a shift from earlier coins, which usually bore only political or historical figures. The obverse of the 1983 50 Sentimo coin carries the portrait of Marcelo H. Pilar, a revolutionary writer, journalist, and one of the leading propagandists in the movement for Philippine independence during the Spanish colonial era. His inclusion symbolized freedom of speech, courage, and national identity. Around his portrait is inscribed Republica ng Pilipinas and the year of minting, 1983. The reverse side depicts the image of the wailing orchid Vanda Sandriana, a flower native to Mindanao, often called the Queen of Philippine Orchids. This orchid was chosen to highlight the country's rich flora and promote conservation awareness. Below the flower is the denomination 50 Sentimo. The coin was made of copper nickel, which gave it a silvery appearance, unlike earlier Sentimo coins that were bronze-colored. 198350. Sentimo coins circulated widely in the Philippine economy throughout the 1980s. At that time, 50 centavos still held significant purchasing power. One could buy small items like candies, snacks, or even part of jeepney fares with it. By the late 1980s and into the 1990s, however, the coin's value began to diminish due to inflation, and it slowly became less commonly used in everyday transactions. Marcelo H. Pilar's legacy, his image on the coin, reinforced national pride, reminding Filipinos of their fight for independence and intellectual freedom. Pilar's writings in La Solidaridad played a crucial role in the propaganda movement against Spanish rule. The coin also symbolized the government's attempt to connect the Filipino people to their natural environment. By featuring the wailing, the coin raised awareness of the Philippines as a biodiversity hotspot. Economic transition period. The early 1980s was a turbulent economic period for the Philippines, marked by debt crises and political unrest leading up to the EDSA People Power Revolution of 1986. Coins from this period serve as reminders of both economic hardship and resilience. 1983 50 Sentimo coin is no longer in active circulation, having been demonetized along with other coins of the Flora and Fauna series when the BSP introduced the new design series NDS in the. While not extremely rare, its historical significance and design make it a popular piece among collectors of Philippine coinage. The Flora and Fauna series, launched in 1983, was a major redesign of Philippine currency. Unlike earlier series that primarily featured national heroes and political figures, this series emphasized two elements: heroes of independence and symbols of Philippine biodiversity. This was an effort by the Central Bank of the Philippines to create coins that were uniquely Filipino, celebrating both the country's past struggles and its natural riches. Why 1983 was important. The year 1983 marked not only the introduction of this coin series but also a turbulent period in Philippine history. Inflation was rising, debt levels were high, and political unrest was brewing. At the same time, the government sought to create a sense of national identity and pride. The release of coins featuring plants and animals was a symbolic move to reinforce patriotism. The obverse of the 50 Sentimo coin features Marcelo H. Pilar, 1850 to 1896, a towering figure in the propaganda movement. He was a lawyer, journalist, and writer who became one of the fiercest critics of Spanish colonial abuse. Known for his sharp wit, Pilar wrote biting essays and editorials that exposed the injustices of the friars and Spanish officials. His role in La Solidaridad. When Pilar moved to Spain in 1888, he became the editor of La Solidaridad, the newspaper of the Filipino expatriate community fighting for reform. Through its pages, he demanded freedom of speech, representation in the Spanish Cortes, and the secularization of parishes. His efforts laid the intellectual groundwork for the Philippine Revolution. Pilar's exile and death. Unfortunately, his years in Spain were marked by poverty and illness. He died in Barcelona in 1896, just months before the revolution broke out. Despite his tragic end, Pilar is remembered as a true patriot whose pen became his weapon. His presence on the 50 Sentimo coin reminds Filipinos that national freedom was built on both intellectual resistance and sacrificeth. Wailing orchid, queen of Philippine orchids. The reverse of the coin depicts the wailing Banda sanderiana, one of the most beautiful and rare orchids in the world. Native to Mindanao, this flower grows in the rainforests of Davao, often clinging to tall trees. Known for its large, colorful, and striking blooms, it is considered a national treasure in Philippine botany, symbol of national pride. Choosing the wailing for the 50 Sentimo coin was not random. Orchids were already globally recognized for their rarity and beauty, and the wailing stood out as a symbol of Filipino pride. It was called the Queen of Philippine Orchids, admired both by local communities and international. HORTICULTURISTS. Conservation significance. By the 1980s, the wailing was already threatened by overcollection and habitat loss. Featuring it on the coin was also a reminder of the need to protect the country's natural resources, or was not simply another issue of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, BSP. It was created under the Ang Bagong Lipunan New Society program, which was launched after martial law was declared in 1972. By 1984, the Marcos administration was heavily emphasizing reforms and nationalism, and coinage became one of the tools to reflect this vision. The coin's obverse features Andres Bonifacio, the revolutionary leader who organized the Katipunan. While Jose Rizal is often celebrated as the intellectual hero, Bonifacio represents the fighter, the man of action, and the working-class voice of revolution. Putting Bonifacio on one of the highest value coins of the series was no accident. It symbolized courage, unity, and the people's power values Marcos wanted his regime associated with. Even if ironically, the Philippines was under authoritarian rule at the uniqueness of the Piso, the 19842. Piso was one of the largest and heaviest circulation coins ever minted in the Philippines. At 38 millimeters and about 17 grams, it felt almost like a commemorative medal. This was intentional. It made the coin feel valuable, durable, and symbolic of stability at a time when the peso was actually losing value. The reverse carried the coat of arms of the Republic of the Philippines as it appeared under Marcos. It included the inscription Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Its placement was political. It projected the authority of the state, reinforcing the image that the government remained strong despite widespread protests and international criticism. The timing of the coin's circulation is crucial. The early 1980s brought severe economic hardship. The Philippines was facing one of the worst debt crises in Asia. 1983. The assassination of Benigno Ninoy Aquino Jr. shocked the world, deepened political unrest, and triggered capital flight. Inflation soared, unemployment rose, and the peso weakened. High denomination coin. The 2 peso of 1984 entered circulation in an economy where its purchasing power was already diminishing. Many Filipinos remember the 2 peso coin of 1984 for its size and weight. It wasn't convenient for daily use, often bulging in wallets or pockets. Still, it was distinct and memorable. Children would sometimes keep it as a token or lucky charm, while adults often used it for larger purchases. 2 peso circulated in a politically charged period. From 1984 to 1986, the Philippines moved closer to a turning point. Protest movements gained momentum, international pressure mounted, and the legitimacy of the Marcos regime weakened. This coin thus stands as a silent witness to history, changing hands during demonstrations, family struggles, and the everyday lives of Filipinos. When the people power revolution of 1986 toppled Marcos and brought Corazon Aquino to power, the nation shifted to a new era of democracy. Along with political change came changes in coinage. By the late 1980s and early 1990s,